Welcome everyone to our interim board meeting, School District of Springfield Township. Tonight is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. Weather is beautiful. Kids wrapped up the PSSAs, at least my middle schoolers have presented that to me, and they are excited about the next couple of weeks to close out the year. So with that, I'll welcome everyone. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A reading of the mission statement. The mission of the School District of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high-achieving, resilient, and responsible in a changing global community. Roll call, Ms. Green.
Mr. Needleman.
Here.
Mr. DeFranco.
Here.
Dr. Etlin.
Here.
Mrs. Green.
Here.
Mrs. Hubley.
Here.
Mrs. Hughes.
Here.
Mrs. Slapinski.
Here.
Dr. Taratuski.
Here.
Mr. Bedard.
Here. Just one announcement. The board, at its discretion, may videotape all or any portion of public board meetings subject to the limitations set forth in Policy 006 meetings. Board meetings will be broadcast on Friday afternoon following each board meeting. All right, let's jump right into reports and information. We have several committee updates, and we'll start with Academic Affairs Committee. Dr. Atlin.
Okay. All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. The Academic Affairs Committee met on Thursday, April 25th at 5 p.m. The following committee persons were present. Mr. DeFranco, Mrs. Green, Ms. Hubley, Dr. Yannicone, Dr. Johnston. Additional panelists included Dr. Rittenhouse, Dr. McLaurin, Dr. Markle, Dr. Dragan, Dr. Lutz, and Mrs. Klein. First, we discussed some curriculum updates. Proposed were some visual arts curriculum revision, and that was supported with an art consultant. The proposed visual arts curriculum will include a vision statement that will include diversity, equity, and inclusion, and accessibility that will be robust in an effort to encourage the students to become lifelong learners and appreciate the arts. There will also be accommodations and adaptations for all learners. There will be continued work by the art department to work on structuring the art department with pathways to graduation. This will include curriculum material by grade level according to the standards. There was also discussed where new high school courses for the upcoming 2022-23 school year. The new courses for the high school social studies were discussed, which includes electives that will be offered for grades 11 and 12 at a half credit. These courses include civics, which will become a requirement for the class of 2024, economic, ethnic studies, history through film, and street law that will emphasize how law affects people in real life, and this will also be offered to 10th graders. The math curriculum changes. Business math will be replaced with integrated math, and concepts of geometry will also be offered at 1 credit. Moving on to health and physical ed curriculum changes, these will be all for half credit for grades 10 through 12. Changes will include aquatics, fitness for life, racket and net sports, strength and conditioning, team, and lifetime. For grade 9, lifeguard training that will also include first aid and CPR, as well as physical education will be offered for them. Moving on to the arts. Piano and keyboard will be offered for grades 9 through 12. Digital music production also will be offered for these grades as well. Visual arts, which will include full and half credit options, as well as photography every other year, half credit to full credit. Moving on to the Essers Funds and how they will be spent moving forward. First was discussed a math specialist. They will be posting for 2 positions, one for Enfield and one for Erdenheim. And the purpose of these positions is to close any gaps in achievement and build capacity for the students. The focus will be to support interventions in mathematics aligned to the role of the reading specialist. The specialist will serve on building data teams and provide and this position will also provide direct services to students. Additionally, social emotional learning and mental health was also discussed, and student data will be reviewed to identify specific areas of needs, and resources will be examined to target student needs. Additionally, there will be to determine gaps in services availability and seek to ensure continuum of support for all students. There will also be ongoing professional learning for staff. Family and child support services will be reviewed and modified to support needs. And moving on to the next area, professional learning. Looking at our multi-tiered system of support, as well as trauma-informed practices and universal design for learning will be a focus. There will be continued planning for the 2022-23 school year with the administrative teams, and professional development will be offered for all staff, including paraprofessionals, on ensuring high quality professional development for all staff to support students' variability and to remove any type of barrier to their learning. And also, the professional learning will help to support ongoing partnerships, and partnerships will be explored for professional development to support. And one partnership that will be looked at will be the Montgomery County IU. Moving on to another area that the Essers Funds will support will be the upcoming Spartan Academy, will be offered again this summer. Currently, as of last week, there are 150 registered students so far between grades 1 and 8. The program will be offered for 2 weeks, 8 days total with 2 sessions. Inclusive in the program will be a reading specialist, school counselors, nurse, aid support, and the focus of this academy will be for skill acquisition and reinforcement. We also discussed equity action plan updates and the curriculum access. Guides will be created for each grade level from kindergarten through 8 that will be language and content friendly for students and families. This will be ready this coming fall. The course guide for the high school has already been completed and hopefully will be available soon. Information on where these guides can be accessed on the website is forthcoming and will be detailed, which I know many parents and members of the community have requested. Moving on to professional learning. The Flex program for our professional staff has been very successful in empowering the teachers to create their self-directed learning. There was also a family teacher conference feedback survey where there was 98% participation. And staff will need to have time to review the data from this survey to analyze and develop a plan to meet areas of concern. Also discussed with student belonging, and the spring survey that was administered in late April will be reviewed and analyzed, and the results of this survey will be available sometime in May. Updates from the Office of Teaching and Learning. PSSA administration timeline was discussed, which began on April 25th at Erdenheim for 3 days, and the middle school will begin on May 26th for 3 days. Math and science will begin in grades 4 and 8 this week. The Keystone administration timeline. Literature will begin on May 19th and 20th. Algebra, May 23rd and 24th. And that will be for both the middle school and high school. Biology will be May 25th and 26th, and the composites and other pathways will also be given. Lastly, we discussed the Act 158 graduation requirement update that will be most effective and applicable to the graduating class of 2023. Discussed was the passing of the Keystone, where all graduates must pass the areas of algebra, biology, and literature. However, there will also be accommodations made for alternatives meeting these requirements. And what will be reviewed, in addition to looking at Keystone results, will be proficiency and pathways, composite pathways, alternative and evidence pathways. And the district is moving toward looking at a software to connect and record the results of this year's Keystone results. And this is to ensure that each student is going to be prepared and ready to graduate next year. This software will create a report for the high school counselors and administrative team to examine where we are and how to support students in meeting this requirement. And again, this will begin following the administration of the Keystone this spring. So this concludes my report, and I respectfully submit.
Wow, Dr. Etlin. If that was a recap, how long was the academic affairs meeting?
Well, it was quite lengthy, so hopefully I really captured the essence of that meeting.
Awesome. Any comments or questions from the board on the recap from Dr. Etlin? One thing I wanted to confirm, which I believe is already confirmed, but any of the programs that we went through were that would require funding are already captured in preliminary budget or within our Essers Funds allocation? Okay, fantastic. Sounds awesome. All right, thank you, Dr. Etlin. Next up is our property committee, and we'll have a report from Dr. Taratuski.
So our property committee meeting was held on Wednesday, April the 20th at 8 a.m., bright and early. Mrs. Lipinski, Mrs. Etlin, Dr. Etlin, sorry, myself, Michael Needleman, and Jeff Bedard, as well as Dr. Yannicone, Craig Thorne, Kara Green, and Samantha Jenko were all in attendance at that meeting. Mr. Thorne, there were actually 4 major topics that were addressed: capital projects, the middle school athletic fields, the Church Road athletic field project, and stadium lighting. And under capital projects, Mr. Thorne shared that there's wayfinding signage and district branding flags that are being purchased and selected and purchased, and locations are being identified for those on our campus to help visitors navigate our campus and our schools, and also to ensure that all our campuses are cohesive. The middle school roofing and fencing project was discussed. Roofing materials have been delivered and stored at the middle school site, and we are scheduling fencing replacement with the contractor. Security upgrades, we're developing specifications and receiving quotes from various vendors for all required security upgrades, and that includes card access to buildings, controllers, camera replacements and additions, and software updates. The middle school athletic fields were evaluated for renovation. Assessment of all the athletic areas and use, and we are developing a scope of work from the assessments of the existing field conditions. The impact on the current and future athletic programs, we are working with the middle school team to identify any specific program needs that will need to be addressed while this project is in process. At the Church Road site, the progress report, the demolition of the old building has been completed. The contractor will begin construction of the underground stormwater piping and leveling surfaces of the playing fields. And in terms of stadium lighting use at the high school, privacy vegetation screening has been selected. We've received pricing for 14-foot to 16-foot evergreen plantings to provide some privacy screening at the corner of the location of the stadium to help with the spillover of lighting. And the community use of the track, the hours of use have been updated. We've adjusted times for the use of lighting in the stadium, since no lights are now turned on in the morning. Outside user groups will still account for the majority of the nighttime lighting needs, and the hours for the public use of track are posted at the ticket booth. There was at least one public comment, and it was from a community member who inquired about flooding on Paper Mill Road and in front of the high school, and the district is still working with the township and will be contacting PennDOT for further investigation. And that concludes the property committee report. Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome report, Dr. Taratuski. Thank you. And
Ms. Green for providing that.
As always, Ms. Green behind the scenes. Thank you very much. And then finally, Policy Committee has an update from Ms. Carla Green.
Carla's actually passed it on to me, so I will
Laura Hughes, how are you?
do it on the fly. So the policy committee met yesterday morning at 8:30, and it was myself, Mr. Needleman, Ms. Green, and of course Superintendent Dr. Yannicone, and Ms. Kerr was also in attendance. We reviewed policies 301 through 325, all of which are up in various forms this evening. The primary things to keep in mind is that the majority of the changes are either to update us with current laws or recommendations from PBSA or grammatical changes, so very slight word changes. There are 5 policies that you'll see on the agenda are recommended for repeal, and this is because they are duplicative or covered elsewhere in the policies, and that's why we're recommending the removal. And the one that is the most significant change that board members may want to look at is more closely is just the telework policies, and that is trying to introduce and be clearer around those policies, particularly after the experience of the last couple of years. And there were no public comments, and happy to answer any questions about any of the many policies listed out.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes, and I appreciate all the work the Policy Committee continues to do to work through every single policy. It's important work, so thank you. All right, we'll move on to administrative reports, and both our Spartan Spotlight and Superintendent Report from Dr. Yannicone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bedard. I want to first thank you for the summary report and thank Dr. Etlin for the summary report with regard to standardized testing. It is May, which for us hopefully involves much more than standardized testing, but we are mostly through PSSAs. We'll wrap them up this week. We have science left with the last few days of this week and some makeup exams at the middle school, 3 through 8. And then at the high school, we have started AP exams, which we'll finish up in a few weeks. And then the high school, those who are needing it, will take their Keystone exams. So it'll be Memorial Day before we're finished standardized testing in the district, but we're trying to make sure that students know that our only expectation is that they do their best and that for the rest of their school hours, they enjoy continuing their education and activities. So we're trying to not put too much pressure on them with regard to the standardized testing this year.
Is it safe to assume this is the kids' favorite time
It's their favorite time, absolutely.
to do the standardized?
Well, when the standardized testing is over, there are class parties
That's true.
and field trips and lots of other fun activities. And so, yes, they like the idea of getting it over with, I think, more than anything else. Tonight, there are several items on the agenda that I just wanted to bring to your attention. First of all, I want to compliment both Emily Kerr and Kara Green, as well as our leadership in Act 93, which is our administrative association, as well as in STESPA, our support staff association. In particular, I want to point out Lynn Miller and Monty Tamburino's work in negotiating on behalf of a very large STESPA group, as well as Kathy Van Voren and Andre McLaurin, who represented our Act 93 group. So we have those 2 agreements ready for your approval tonight. I think that in both cases, we've been able to find a sweet spot where we're responsible to the district from a financial perspective, but also provide this kind of support and appreciation in the compensation packages that our administrators and our support staff were looking for over the next 3 years. So happy to have those in front of you tonight. Also, this week is Staff Appreciation Week, and we have been having activities over the first 2 days and will continue over the next 3 days. Our parent-teacher associations have done a wonderful job of providing support and recognition to our staff. Our building administration is working at each of our buildings to do the same, and our central office team will be sending some treats to the full district staff tomorrow. So officially, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, but we go with Staff Appreciation Week every year. So all staff members are recognized and appreciated this week. Want to just mention 2 upcoming meetings for the public. One is our Finance Committee meeting. So we have our second review of the preliminary budget proposal next Thursday, May 12th at 8 a.m. Kara and I will be providing further information based on updated numbers that have been worked out from the state and federal government. And we're hopeful to be able to have a good discussion with the Finance Committee as to where we'd like to land the following Monday evening. And that's the other important note, that our second board meeting of this month is Monday, May 16th, because Tuesday the 17th is an election day. And so we will have a full presentation for the public at the Monday, May 16th board meeting of the preliminary budget. We talked about standardized testing. So the other great thing happening in May is the Festival of the Arts. So I wanted to make sure that the board and the community were aware all month we'll be celebrating art and music in all of our schools. Tomorrow night, we will have Enfield's first official Festival of the Arts. So we'll have a combination of, it's basically an open house from 4 to 6 o'clock. We encourage the public to join us to see our youngest learners' products of the year, all the artwork they've done. The following week, we have the Middle School Festival of the Arts on the 10th. And then the next week is the high school on the 18th. And then we end the month with Erdenheim's concerts on the 25th and 26th. So every week there are opportunities to celebrate the arts in Springfield Township, and we're really excited to be able to bring those opportunities to everyone. Next Friday, we're really excited at the high school to host a regional unified track and field event. There will be 7 schools here next Friday, and we welcome the community to come and join us and cheer on the athletes. We're thrilled that we were able to host this event, and I'm very happy for our athletic department and our unified sports team to do the extra legwork to be the host school for this first regional meet. So exciting times as well with our athletic programs. And finally, for tonight, our spotlight is on a program that I know our secondary principals are very excited to be able to share. We're really proud of the work that's been done across the district in increasing flexibility for our student learners. But Dr. Rittenhouse and Mr. Fuller are going to share some information about, as the year comes close to a close, how Flex has worked this year and the impact it's had on our students.
Okay, hopefully the transitions happen a little faster than that. But we're here to talk about the Spartan Flex program that's happening at both the middle school and the high school. And so at the middle school, we're going to talk a little bit about where it came from. We're going to talk about how it's going. We're going to share some student and staff voices related to Flex, and then we're going to tell you where we think we're headed with Flex next year. So for us, Dr. Yannicone and Dr. Johnston run a superintendent's advisory council, and one of the things that students told us in that council was that the WIN program and the asynchronous Wednesday that happened at the middle school throughout the pandemic actually increased their ability to sort of take ownership of their own learning, to get help when they needed help, to do work when they needed to do work, to use facilities when they needed to use facilities. So they asked for some sort of continued flexibility. What they really wanted was asynchronous Wednesdays forever, and that's something that we couldn't give them, so we were trying to find ways like how do we create flexibility within the day. And so we looked to support skill development there, and at the middle school, the flex period happens at the end of the day for 40 minutes every other day, and it alternates with our advisory and Spartan block programs, if you're familiar with them. If you're not, I'll come back and do another presentation on that. So, Dr. Ritt, do you want to talk about the high school?
Okay, so Flex for the high school is 60 minutes, and it's basically during when we had lunch before. We still have lunch, of course, 60 minutes every day, 30 minutes for lunch, and then 30 minutes for tutoring and activity, homework. They can socialize. Some of the activities include library study. The library is filled every day during Flex, class meetings, internships and work study, club meetings, activities. playing basketball, lifting weights, that's all open every day. And again, socializing, seeing each other. Again, the success of asynchronous Wednesday during our hybrid schedule was something that the kids had brought up to student voice. And then we were really focusing with Flex, again, that 60 minutes in the middle of the day where the student voice was them suggesting that we have something like that. It gives them some choice and then control over their program, which is very important at the high school. Students with a grade of D or F are assigned to a teacher's room for help. And they get an email, as does the family, that you are to see your teacher. The teachers have 30 minutes for lunch and then 30 minutes for office hours, which is really an office half hour. It's misnamed. So, but basically the teachers are eating for 30 minutes and helping students for 30 minutes.
So we went out and interviewed some of our middle school students this week. It's not clicking. My clicker's not clicking. There we go. To get some student voices and student reactions to Flex. So these were just randomly chosen students that we pulled aside and interviewed, and thankfully they all seem to like Flex, which is good since we're here. So you can go ahead with the video.
I like Flex because I get to touch on my teachers, like if I need help for something. I get to like good teachers, or maybe I get to finish my test and I didn't do it on time, or and get all my work done.
Okay. I like Flex because it helps me ask my only teacher, like what I can do and stuff like that. He can help me in class.
I like Flex because it helps me get all my work done before, so I don't have to do homework in school.
Oh.
I use my Flex period to finish my homework so I don't have any homework at home.
I use Flex time to meet with my teachers and get my schoolwork done.
I use my Flex period to do work and socialize with my friends in class.
Hi, I'm Charlize McGorry, and I believe Flex time is beneficial because if you have sports and stuff, you have like more time to get your work done, so you don't have to worry about it when you get home, especially if you play more than one team, like example for school.
I'm Sarah Bell, and I'm in 7th grade. I think Flex time is beneficial because I get to go to teachers' classrooms when I need their help.
My name is Chris, and I'm in 7th grade, and I like Flex a lot because it's like a time where you can get your homework done. Because I know a lot of people don't really like to do homework, but if you do it at Flex, then you don't have to do it when you get home. So yeah, that's why I like Flex.
I like Flex because we get our homework done, and when I have sports after school, it's a lot less time that I have to take when getting ready.
I like Flex because if you have like overdue work or like questions for another teacher that are there during the day, you can like go and ask them in person instead of like emailing them.
Flex is meaningful to me because I won't really procrastinate that much because I can get more work done faster.
Flex is meaningful to me because it takes off a lot of stress because I have a lot of after school activities and if I didn't have Flex I wouldn't be able to complete them, and it's kind of fun, so it's really cool.
Yeah.
I like Flex because you get like a lot of work done and you can like hang out with your friends after.
I think it's meaningful because you can finish work that you haven't finished from other classes and because you get to have more fun and do other things at the end of the day.
Flex is meaningful for me because I get work done while I'm with my friends and because I can listen to music.
I believe Flex is a fundamental processing time where students can finish work or assignments that they couldn't finish in class, so their grades do not drop and they can make sure that they're staying on top of everything.
So a little repetitive, but I think that makes the point, right? That our students they're into this time, they're getting their work done, they're meeting with their teachers. It's happening at the end of the day, which is a relief, I think, for some of our students who are involved in sports programs. And so there's a lot going on. Our students, we did do a student survey of Flex earlier in the year. We will do another one before the year is over. There are not exact numbers in those first couple bullets because we asked them with subject specific. So it was a little bit different subject by subject, but our students in the 80 and 90% range are reporting high levels of confidence that they can get help and high levels of confidence that teachers recognize when they need help and call them in for flex time, which is a slightly different thing. They also report high levels of efficacy. We did a whole efficacy survey with them about their beliefs about their own ability to do the middle school work. And we had over 90% of our students reported confidence that they can learn what they need to learn in the middle school program. And 80% of students, actually a little bit more, reported that Flex is helpful for them in that. So it's looking successful from a student point of view. We do have some changes we're going to make next year. We'll tell you about those in a minute. Dr. Ritt?
So some of our, how has Flex been going? Some of our data, we had first semester 26 course failures versus 76 failures the year before. So that was a decrease of 66%, which the staff and I and the entire high school team was immensely proud of. And then we did a student survey. We're actually going to do another student survey about Flex towards the end of May. And you can see some of the numbers. One was overall well-being. 95% thought that it was beneficial to their overall well-being. 91% felt that it was beneficial to their academic success. And then students report they felt more connected to school, 85%. And again, kind of looking at Flex. And we asked them for input. What would they like to see us improve? Things they liked about it, things they didn't like, and then they had an opportunity to respond. And you can certainly read the quote, the Flex really helps me get my work done, especially homework. I also can get help from teachers, which is really useful. I look forward to Flex every day. And it's certainly a great quote from a student here at the high school.
Your video, I think.
Hi, my name is Max Malosini. I teach math at the high school. I use Flex mostly to help my students, to offer extra support. My Flex is very busy every day, so I'm really happy to have this opportunity.
Hey, my name's Eli and I'm in the 11th grade, and I love Spartan Flex because it gives me time to catch up on extra work. I can go to tutoring, I can ask my teachers for extra help, and it's just a longer lunch period, so I have time to do more things such as like work, socialize with friends, and I can eat lunch and I can do a bunch of things.
Hi, I'm Kristen Greenewalt. I teach visual arts at the high school, and I really enjoy Flex because it allows the students to have, the students that I actually are in the school and are not enrolled in any of the art classes, I really enjoy that they're able to come in and use the space. And Mondays, we used to have Mindfulness Mondays, but we have little art department meetings, but sometimes kids come and they use the time to work on projects that would have extended beyond the allowed class time. On Tuesdays, we do tea and art Tuesdays. It is what it is. We make art and we drink tea. On Wednesdays, NAHS has little follow-up meetings, and then the rest of the time, students come and use the art supplies. And that's it.
Hi, I'm Mila Duty, 7th and 10th grade. I really enjoyed Flex this year because it's really helped me get on top of all my classes and go to club meetings, and it's just been really great in being a part of the school community.
Hi, I'm Colin. I'm a 9th grader, and I think it's a great idea.
I'm Cassandra, and I like Flex because it gives me the opportunity to talk to my teachers about things I need help with during school hours.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm in 10th grade, and I like Flex because I can hang out with my friends while being productive.
I'm Juliet. I'm in 10th grade, and I like Flex because it gives me time to do my homework so I feel less overwhelmed at home.
Hi, I'm David Arner. I teach physics here at the high school. During Flex, I mostly have upperclassmen either that have taught before or are currently teaching in the APs. They come and just hang out. Sometimes we'll do homework, sometimes it's for my class, or for other classes. Sometimes we'll just get into conversations with each other, or they'll pull out board games or card games and spend 45 minutes playing a game. If they have questions on homework, they'll ask me. Conversations, sometimes they'll ask about college application process or what goes into each major, so I can sort of involve get involved there if they ask me to or be part of it, or sometimes I'll just go over and play the game with them.
Hello everyone, this is Mr. Puntel.
Mr. Williams.
We're here to talk about Flex. It's been a great way to combine our forces, in my opinion. We have students that are studying traditionally in the chorus program and in the band program and in our tri-M, but we were actually able to launch a fantastic student club and to integrate some of our performing musicians with some of our recording artists.
Yeah, so basically ever since the invention of Flex with the MPC Club, which is the Music Production Club, we've basically given all of the students with the tools and resources that they've learned from traditional music styles such as like pep band, jazz band, and be able to integrate that into creation of their own music and creating their own musical identity outside of just the traditional music formats.
Hi, my name is Max.
All right, so we are going to do an end-of-year student survey. We have 2 sense of belonging surveys. We have a PAYS data profile to look at to help shape our programs. But one of the things that we have been hearing from our teachers, and we did plan for, right, this idea that middle school flex can't look like high school flex, right? There's an accountability factor there that middle school students may not be ready for in terms of the amount of freedom that students have at the high school. So they're assigned to rooms for flex and then can transition from room to room as they need help. We've been asked, and I think it's a good piece of feedback from our staff, to be a little bit more intentional about the composition of those groups. Because as students are coming to their math teacher for help, they might be walking into a homeroom full of students who generally travel together and maybe are generally in high math, and that can be intimidating, right? Or, students come and ask for help in front of other students. So we've been asked to think about how do we group students in terms of what they need. And start them in a position of, generally, this is what you need. You can transfer from here to someplace else if you need to. And so we're going to be thinking about how to do that. I think the team structure at the middle school plays a big role in figuring out who needs what and where they should be and with who. And so that's sort of my work over the summer when I think about how are we going to redesign Flex for opening next school year. But all in all, I think it's been a success, and we have some improvements to make, and so we're going to do that. Dr. Ritt?
So the future of Flex at the high school, we also, end of the year student survey, you saw some of those results. We'll administer that and use that data to shape programs. 2 sense of belonging surveys, again, to look to what kids are feeling about school. Our PAYS data, we'll certainly use that too. Incoming 9th graders, current 8th graders will be assigned to classroom or teacher for the first semester. So they'll have 30 minutes for lunch and then 30 minutes for Flex, to get them kind of used to that, and also to be, to have almost like a teacher mentor. Our May faculty meeting, we're going to look to see how we can increase student accountability, not behavioral accountability, but if you don't attend Flex, then what? And we've been working with that and asking area schools, and then we're looking to increase the frequency and variety of programs, perhaps a PSAT, ACT prep program that they can do during those 60 minutes. So that is the future of Flex, and it's been successful, and we're looking to reflect on input from staff, students, the community, from the board, and improve it for the fall. I've been very excited about the program this year, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So I just wanted to compliment both Dr. Rittenhouse and Mr. Fuller, because last summer we talked about the feedback we had received from students, and one of the areas where we really wanted to spend some energy at the secondary level was in the reduction of stress and anxiety for students as they returned to a full day of school with a full complement of classmates, which they hadn't experienced in a while. And it was overwhelming from the students that they were seeking some of the flexibility that they experienced in those asynchronous Wednesdays. And I compliment both of you, because I think you really took that to heart, thought about what could happen, effectively for the students. I know in the case of Dr. Rittenhouse, he actually brought in another school's leadership team and faculty to speak to our leadership team and faculty to get ideas about how it can work. And the response from students has been just overwhelming. At a recent high school advisory, Dr. Johnston and I heard glowing feedback. And some of the things that we've talked about in other contexts, they're not getting up as early in the morning because clubs that used to meet before school now meet during flex. So they're able to arrive to school a little bit later. Activities that would cause them to have to return to campus in the evening are happening during flex. And so they're finding that they have more time at home with family, more downtime. Friends who they would never see outside of school because they just don't have the ability from a transportation standpoint to engage with family and friends who live in other areas, they can connect with socially during flex. And if you walk through the building, whether it's the middle school or the high school at that time, and I'll speak specifically to the high school, there are close to 800 students who are going wherever they want for 60 minutes, and it feels very much like order in this building for that hour. The students have figured out when to go get lunch and who to see when and how that will work. It's also provided our faculty the opportunity once a week at the high school, they are connecting as a team the way the middle school team does. So we didn't have that before within a department, that they were able to, within this context of the school day, connect and develop shared lesson planning or conversations around the curriculum. They now have one day a week that they are unassigned to be available to students so that they can connect as a department. So there are a lot of great outgrowths of this program, and I'm really appreciative to the leadership, to the faculty, and to our student body who rose to the occasion. It's not easy all of a sudden to say, okay, you have an hour to decide to make decisions, but they're doing a great job. And when they're struggling, the administration is helping them to make better decisions about how to use that flex time wisely. And Dr. Rett alluded to that our ninth graders, we're going to give them a little bit more structure at the beginning of next year just to make sure they've transitioned successfully before we set them loose with 60 minutes. So thank you very much, and that concludes my report, and I'm sure if you have questions, they're happy to answer, or we're happy to answer.
I just have a comment as the mom of 2 high school students that I think that it's such a valuable time during their day, and they come home and they tell like great stories, and most of their stories are about their flex time. And it's not just about being with friends, it's about the connection with the adults here and, you know, being able to go to teachers for help. So I appreciate the effort that you both put into this.
I just want to comment, I really do like the forward thinking about next year with the SAT and ACT prep, because if you have a student and they're in school all day, you're preparing for this test and that homework and that project, and then you're taking an independent SAT course where some students may not be able to afford the kind of course that they want to take, at least giving some kind of preparation for the SAT and ACT is really important. I think that's a really good idea to look at for next year.
And our thought is maybe like a 4-week, like a quick hitting. The SATs are Saturday, May 5th, so the whole week of April, you know, every other day you can have 45 minutes in the LGR or LGI. So
it's an excellent idea.
Free period, right? And they do it, right? You don't have students just kind of wandering around. You have students doing what they're supposed to do, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but could you just speak to that for just a second?
So if you would be a student that perhaps is doing very well academically, you would have your 30 minutes for lunch. So if you do the math, you would always, you must have 30 minutes for lunch. That's a state rule. So they still have 30 minutes for lunch. That other 30 minutes could be going to see friends. We had people speak who have really embraced flex. Mr. Malasini's room is always full. Mr. Arner's room is always full. Mr. Puntel's room in chorus is always full. So Mr. Puntel, the music production class, for example, students are going in there who've never taken a music class. They don't have room in their schedule. So Mrs. Greenewalt said the same thing. A lot of students who come, and, as you heard her say, aren't in her art classes. They just want to throw a pot or do some oil painting or whatever. So that piece, they're able to do that. Some kids will just relax for 60 minutes. When you leave here tonight at 8:15, this room goes back to 18 tables right around the corner there with 4 chairs. That's the old Enfield Elementary School furniture. We got the U-Haul in Orland and drove, and my wonderful assistant principals and I went and got all the furniture there and brought it here. And so some kids will just relax. And one of the interesting things, they sit in the same spots every day. So I know where to find the kids from the basketball team and the kids from the physics. I just know where they're going to be. So kids kind of find a spot. So they kind of find their own level, so to speak, of what they want to do. We also have kids where it's a junior and senior experience, particularly the seniors who have internships. They'll go to that internship. They'll go down to the elementary school and work with a teacher, or they'll do reading buddies at Erdenheim and stuff like that. You know, it's 60 minutes. If you get a quick lunch, you have that time. So they choose all different things, but like sometimes some kids will just see, you know, there's about 8 tables here during the day. They're there the whole 60 minutes, you know, doing work, you know, on the Chromebooks are great. You know, so, you know, sometimes there's kids, but other times they get help. But it's a collegiate model, so to speak, where it's 30-minute office hour, and meaning the teacher from 10:50 to 11:20, they have lunch. We make sure that they're eating lunch with their colleagues, so they're all not, you know, so people all are available at different times. And then they have 30 minutes where they're in their classroom waiting to give help, just like a college professor has office hours. And it's been imperfect. You know, first couple weeks I was calling, you know, Dr. Yannicka and Dr. Johnson, like, what did I do? But, you know, because it's a little noisier than usual. But, you know, overall, it's that student voice and it's that student choice. And they have the choice on driving their program. And there's some accountability, too. If you choose not to go get help, there's also that piece, too. Like, you know, that's you know, you need to go get help. You need to kind of have to do that, too. So.
Yeah, I think at the middle school, it's about putting the right amount of structure in place so that you don't get what you're afraid of, right? Which is, you know, we have a building-wide management spreadsheet for this with every kid's name on it, and every single day that we have flex, and where that, if they're not to be in their assigned flex location, what date have they made, right? So if, you know, one of our students wants to make a date with his math teacher because he missed a test, he has to do that, and then the math teacher puts his name in the spreadsheet. If a teacher wants it to work in the opposite direction and they want the flex teacher to send the student to them, they do the same thing, and that happens. And so we have had to build in a level of accountability here that the high school doesn't have to. But we do some of that tracking.
And we also take attendance during flex. Like if you're not at your assigned 30 minutes with Mr. Arner for physics, you're marked down as absent unexcused. So.
Another thing that's happened here is that we've normalized getting help in a way that we hadn't before. Because what happened before was that you were assigned to a Spartan, 5 clubs and an advisory, right, last year, unless you needed help, and then we took away your fun. Now, we have normalized the idea that people would need to get help or need to spend their time wisely or need to work on something that takes a little bit more time for them. And you still everybody gets 2 clubs. We never take them away, and advisory. So I feel like there's more equity built into that model, and that the students are appreciative of that. So.
I'd like to just answer as well, Mr. Needleman. So I think one of the things you're alluding to is that when students are given opportunities to make decisions, they will typically make the right decision. And they're teenagers, right, at different developmental levels, so that's not 100% true. There are students who need more or less guidance to make great choices. But one of the things we talked about last summer was that we believe in our students, and that over the pandemic when they were at home, in many cases, they proved that they can be more engaged in making decisions for themselves about what they need. So sometimes they make the wrong decision, and then there's a natural consequence, right? They don't do as well on a particular test or quiz. I should have gone to my teacher when I had the opportunity. And our hope now is that all those seniors who are headed out into the world, whether it's I'm going to work and I now know that I should ask my boss if I have a question instead of waiting to make a mistake, or when on the college campus there's office hours, now I know what that's for, and I don't feel shame to go and ask for help. And so I think that some of the skills we're trying to develop are that agency that we want in our students. And I think it's also been really instructive for our faculty, because I think in the beginning there was a lot of question around what will they do? Will they run the halls? Will they head off campus to wherever? Will they just sit around and stare at their phones? And that's not what's happening. There's some times where some students are doing that, but they might need 20 minutes to sit and stare at their phone because they just need a minute, and they're using an app. But I think that it's important that everyone has learned, students, staff, and families have learned that we can give students more agency and have great results. And you can see that in the academic results we've seen, in particular at the high school. Grades have gone up, failures have gone down as a result of this opportunity. So we feel like it's a real win for us, no pun intended on last year's WIN program, and a real win for our students. So we're excited to continue. And you heard at our last meeting, we added it at Erdenheim, 1 day a week, structured. They pick an activity for 6 weeks, but it's the same idea. You have some voice, you have some choice. You develop relationships with adults that perhaps you wouldn't know otherwise. And so that's the plan. It's been one of our goals as a team all the way through the year, and the principals have done a great job at responding to that and really building the program so that we could experience some success this year. So.
A couple of comments. One is I do want to recognize the work by both those representing Pssa and the Act 93 administration team, as well as the negotiating committee of the board for working through these negotiations to get to the contracts. The contracts look great, and I think it's just another example of the great collaboration and care that goes into the relationships that exist within the district. So congratulations on bringing those to tonight's meeting for a vote. I also want to reiterate on behalf of the board appreciation for teachers and staff in this week. The work that you are doing, if you are watching this video, is essential, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the work that you're doing to support our children and their development. And then exciting updates on the Festival of the Arts. Just another showpiece of our great district. You and I were both at the middle school, and oh gosh, I'm going to blank on the Spartan Share event just last week. See the talent and the arts here is just so impressive. So very exciting. And I would be remiss if I didn't note the Unified Track and Field event to host that. Yeah. It's incredible given the success of the Unified program here at the school. That's got to be a source of pride to be able to host that event. So hopefully lots in attendance. So thank you for all the updates. Absolutely. All right, do we have any public comment on agenda items?
Mr. Bedard, no one has signed up in person, and I don't see any hands raised online, but if there are a number of people I see who have signed up to attend online. If anyone does want to speak on an agenda item, please raise your hand and let us know where you live in the township, and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
1 minute?
Yeah.
Seeing no hands online and no comments in the room, we'll head into the business on the agenda. First up is Human Resources, Personnel, and HR Contracts. Item 1, Personnel. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: certified personnel, support personnel, temporary personnel, extra pay for extra responsibilities 2021-2022, conference workshop attendance. Is there a motion? Motion. And a second? Any comments or questions on personnel?
Mr. Needleman.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. Next, under Human Resources Personnel and Contracts is the Springfield Township Educational Support Personnel Association contract. The Board of School Directors approves the collective bargaining agreement between the Springfield Township Educational Support Association, STEPSA, and the School District of Springfield Township beginning July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on the STEPSA agreement? All right.
Mr. Needleman.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green. Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. Next is the Springfield Township Administrative Compensation Plan, Act 93. The Board of School Directors approves the School District of Springfield Township Administrative Compensation Plan beginning July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on our Act 93 agreement?
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. Congratulations again on bringing both of those to an agreement. Moving into academic affairs, our first item is a tuition contract. The Board of School Directors approves the tuition agreement between Springfield Township School District and Comprehensive Learning Center, Inc. for student 220503-01 for anticipated enrollment of May 16th, 2022, which includes services provided during the summer of 2022 extended school year. The total amount for this is $26,051.31. Is there a motion? And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on this tuition?
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. Moving on to finance. Our first item is Fox Rothschild LLP engagement letter. Recommended action. The Board of School Directors approves the appointment of Fox Rothschild LLP as solicitor for the School District of Springfield Township for the time period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, based upon the following: a retainer of $22,500 per year, a base hourly rate of $190, alternate rates in accordance with the attached engagement letter, and finally, rates as established by the insurance carrier where Fox Rothschild LLP is an approved provider. Is there a motion? Any comments or questions on our engagement letter with Fox Rothschild?
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes.
Aye.
Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. It would have been awkward, right?
Been there, done that.
Next up is Fox Rothschild LLP HIPAA Business Associate Agreement. Recommended action. The Board of School Directors approves the HIPAA Business Associate Agreement between the School District of Springfield Township and Fox Rothschild LLP as a result of Fox Rothschild LLP handling cases that involve protected health information on behalf of the district. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second? Any comments or questions? Very good, Ms. Green.
Mr. Needleman.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. And in all seriousness, Mr. Sultanic, thank you for your expert support for the district.
For supporting the district.
Next up is our Albert Einstein Medical Center agreement. Oh, excuse me, I missed one. Thank you. We're going to go to item number 3, which is Axis Insurance. The Board of School Directors approves the 2022-2023 renewal of the following sports and student accident insurance policies from Axis Insurance Company through All Risk Ltd. 1. Accident and health coverage at an annual cost of $6,355. And 2. Catastrophic accident coverage at an annual cost of $525. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on our Axis Insurance agreement?
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. And now to item number 4, which I was so excited about. This is for our athletic trainer agreement with Albert Einstein Medical Center. The Board of School Directors approves the 2022-2023 athletic trainer agreement with Albert Einstein Medical Center, Moss Rehab, Einstein, of Elkins Park for the high school and the middle school for a total base cost of $78,191. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second? Second. Any comments or questions on our agreement with Albert Einstein?
Mr. Needleman.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. Now we'll move into policy section. Item number 1 is the 300 policies, and this is a first reading approval. The Board of School Directors approves the first reading of the following 300 policies, which are included in the attachment. For the sake of review for the public, I will mention that this is policy 301, creating a position, through policy 325, dress and grooming. Again, this is a first reading. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on policy 300? Policies in the 300s.
Mr. Needleman.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. Our second item under policy are 300 policies that are recommended for repeal. As a reminder, from Ms. Hughes' update earlier tonight, these are being repealed because they are considered redundant and covered within other policies. Recommended action. The Board of School Directors approves the repeal of the following 300 policies. Policy 310, abolishing a position. Policy 316, non-tenured employees. Policy 327, management team. Policy 348, unlawful harassment. And Policy 349, bullying and cyberbullying. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second? Any comments or questions on the repeal of these 300 policies? Okay, Ms. Green.
Mr. Needleman.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. All right, moving into property. We have our first item, which is the Springfield Township Land Development Agreements. Recommended action, the Board of School Directors approves the following Springfield Township Land Development Agreements for the Springfield School District Athletic Fields Project. First, Pedestrian Access Easement Agreement. Second, Declaration of Covenants, Easements, and Restrictions concerning Stormwater Facilities. Third, Memorandum of Land Development and Financial Security Agreement. Fourth, Land Development and Financial Security Agreement. And finally, Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust Escrow Agreement. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on our land development agreements with the township?
Just one question. Is this regarding the middle school project, or is this for the entire district?
These are all related to the Church Road project.
Oh, the Church Road project. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Needleman.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Etlin.
Aye.
Mrs. Green.
Aye.
Mrs. Hubley.
Aye.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Bedard.
Aye. Okay, we'll move on to public comments on non-agenda items. Mr. Needleman.
Thank you, Mr. Bedard. No one has signed up to speak on a non-agenda item in person. I do see a few folks online, but I don't see any hands raised. So if there are any folks who do want to speak on non-agenda items, please raise your hand, tell us who you are and where you live in the township. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if you want to give it another minute. Okay.
All right, seeing no hands for public comment on non-agenda items, move into our final announcements of the evening. Future meeting dates. We have some upcoming board meeting dates. First is Monday, May 16th, 2022. This is our next regular board meeting at 7 p.m. This will be a hybrid meeting hosted here at the Freeze lobby. Reminder, again, that is Monday, May 16th, because Election Day is Tuesday. Our next board meeting is Tuesday, June 7th, 2022. This will be our interim board meeting at 7 p.m., also a hybrid meeting. Upcoming committee meeting dates. We have a Finance Committee meeting next Thursday, May 12th, 2022 at 8 a.m. and a upcoming Policy Committee meeting on Thursday, May 26th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. So with that, I have one closing statement, which is to recognize the mothers in the district, those who have children here in the school, those serving on the board and in the administration. Just want to send a thank you on behalf of the board for being a mom and for being one of the most important teachers in anyone's lives. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Any comments or questions from the board members to close the meeting tonight? Dr. Yannicone, anything to close the meeting?
I just want to, I'll say thank you to my mom, personally, and thanks to everybody, and thank you for recognizing all the moms out there. And I also want to thank Mr. Sultanic and his colleagues at Fox. It's been a challenging few years, and I know for me in my first 18 months, it's been wonderful to have your guidance on numerous matters. So thank you very much. Appreciate having you here tonight, and appreciate being able to continue to work with you next year.
All right, with that, we will conclude our interim board meeting for May 3rd, 2022. Thanks for everyone for being here.